We continue now at the top of Daf Memches Amud Aleph and Meseches Menachos. This is Menachos Daf 48a. This Daf is sponsored by Alexander Rosenfeld in memory of Blima Gittel, Basra of David Halevi Steinmetz. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amud or a Daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amud, the Gemara brought a brisa discussing the Shtei HaLechem, and the brisa said, Shachat Shnei Chavasim, if he slaughtered the two sheep that accompany the Shtei HaLechem, but he did that over 4 loaves of bread instead of over 2 loaves of bread, so then he draws 2 of the loaves and waves them. He does the tenufa, the waving, and the brisa continues, V'hashar, and then the rest, Necholos Bepidyon, they are eaten Bepidyon through redemption. And Rashi explains, V'hashar Necholos Bepidyon, Kin Mefarish V'ozil, as the Gemara will now explain what it means, V'hashar Necholos Bepidyon. And the Gemara continues, Amru Rabbanon Kamid Rav Chisda, the sages said before Rav Chisda the following related to the brisa, Hadalo Kerebi, this brisa is not following Rebbe. And Rashi explains, Hadalo Kerebi, this brisa is not following Rebbe. Elo Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon, rather the brisa is following Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon. The Yomar that Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon says, Shchita lo mekadsha, the slaughtering of the Shnei Kevasim, of the 2 sheep, is not what is mekadesh, that is not what sanctifies the bread. And therefore, lefigach, therefore, efshaluhu b'takana zu kodem zrika. Therefore, this solution is possible before the zrika, meaning it's possible to just draw 2 of the loaves and do the waving, and then redeem the rest of them. That's possible according to Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon, who says that the bread is not yet sanctified. Sha'adayin ein lahem shum kedushas haguf, because the point is, right now at this point in time, the bread does not yet have kedushas haguf. As we said, according to Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon, this bread is purchased with the funds from the Trumas Halishka, so it has that kedushas damim, that monetary kedusha, the monetary holiness, but it doesn't have any kedushas haguf yet, according to Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon, because the shchita is not mekadesh, and so therefore v'harein ketchilasin, they just like they were at the outset. Umoshech eza shtayim sheyirtza, so he can draw whichever 2 he wants. V'zorek hadam alein, and he can do the zrikas hadam, the throwing of the blood for those 2. Umekadshan, and then he can be mekadesh them. Umatirin, and that permits them. V'elu shenesharu b'kedushas damim, and then the other ones which still have that kedushas damim, they don't have that kedushas haguf. They have the kedushas damim shelahen asuros ad sheyiftu, so they're going to be forbidden. They can't be eaten, because again the zrikas hadam is just matir. It permits those 2 that were drawn, that were waved. Those are now permitted to eat, but these other ones that just have kedushas damim are forbidden ad sheyiftu, until they're redeemed. Upodon kechol kedushas damim, and then he can redeem them just like anything with kedushas damim can be redeemed. V'yochel kol mashayirtza, and then he can eat them as he wants. And the Shita Mekubetzes brings an alternate girsa at the end of Rashi, V'yochel kol misha yirtza, anyone who wants can eat it. But again, the point over here is that this brisa, the Rabbanan said that this brisa is following Rebbe Lozer Rebbe Shimon, it's not following Rebbe. And the Gemara continues, the Rabbanan continue, Di'i Rebbe, if you're going to say that this brisa is following Rebbe, Kevan damar shchita mekadsha, since he says that the slaughtering of the kavasim, that is what is mekadesh, that sanctifies the lechem, so deparik luhecha, so now these 2 loaves that he wants to redeem, where is he going to redeem them? If he's going to redeem them outside of the Azara, but Kevan dechsiv lifnei Hashem, since it's written in the pasuk lifnei Hashem, in front of Hashem, that's a problem. If saluhu b'yotzei, now it's a problem of disqualification through yotzei, through leaving the proper area. And igavoy, if he's going to redeem them within the Azara of the Beis HaMikdash, that's a different problem. Hama'ayil chulin la'azara, then he's going to be bringing in chulin, he's going to be bringing in that which is not sacred, not consecrated, into the Azara of the Beis HaMikdash. And Rashi explains, Di'i Rebbe, if we're following Rebbe, Kevan damar shchita mekadsha, since he says that the slaughtering of the kvasim is mekadesh the lechem, so nihi deshtayim mehen, granted that 2 of the loaves, ein lahan ela kedushas damim, it's true that 2 of the loaves only have kedushas damim, because the slaughtering is only going on 2 of the loaves. V'yeshnon b'pediyah, and so therefore it's possible to redeem, in theory one can redeem those 2 loaves, t'chvasim midi d'chazulhu kamekachi, but the kvasim, that which is fit for them, that's what they're mekadesh. V'inoch kedushas damim bi'alma layu, and so therefore there's just kedushas damim on the other 2 loaves. V'nafki l'chulin, and they're able to go to chulin, they're able to be redeemed. Umevi mos, and in theory he could bring money. V'yomer, he could say b'chol makom shehein, wherever they are, hashtayim she'ein and mekudashos, the 2 of them that don't have that kedushas haguf, yischalalu al mos halalu, that kedusha should go on this money. Uvelo pediyah lo mesachli, now without doing redemption he won't be able to eat those loaves. The lo shari lahu zrikas hakvasim, because again the throwing of the blood of the kvasim is not not going to permit them. But the problem is as follows. Nevertheless, the problem is, Heicha Paraklu, where is he going to do this redemption? Vehechi Mishtru, and how will they actually become permitted? But he doesn't really recognize the ones that are not Mikudashos. He doesn't know which ones have that Kedushas Haguf and which ones do not. And that's why the Gemara continued and said, V'imapik luhu lekulu avroi. Rashi understands the Gemara saying if he brings all of them outside of the Azara, uparaklu, and then redeems them, latarti minayu, meaning he redeems two of them. But kevan dechsib b'shtei halechem, since it's written by the shtei halechem, lifnei Hashem, it says lifnei Hashem, v'heinef hakoin osam alechem habikurim, shma mino pnim ninu, so you see that it has to be inside. And if saluluhu, it's going to be disqualified, hamakudashos, those that were sanctified, are going to be disqualified biyotze, by leaving the proper area. Umitoch shein atam makir and hare kulam psulas. Now, since you don't know which ones are the mikudashos, they're all going to be disqualified. V'deparaklu gavoy va'ochlan koin bifnim la'arbasa. Now, if they're going to be redeemed inside the azar, and the kohen will eat them inside, all four of them, hashtayim chulin v'hashtayim kodesh, he's going to eat the two that are chulin and the two that are kodesh inside the azara. That's a different problem. Kama'ayil chulin le'azara. Then he's brought chulin into the azara. And the reason, of course, why this is not a problem, according to Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, is because according to Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, none of the bread has Kedushas Haguf, because it is the Zrika that is Mekadesh. Right now, just the Shechita has been done, and so that's why, again, two of the breads can be drawn in and waved, and then the other two are able to be redeemed. You don't have this problem, because there's no Kedushas Haguf whatsoever at this point in time. This is only a problem according to Rebbe, because according to Rebbe, again, two of them have the Kedushas Haguf from the Shechita, from the time of the slaughtering. We don't know which two, and therefore we run into this problem according to Rebbe. And the Gemara continues and answers this question. Amar lehu Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda said to them, he said to the Rabbanon, Liolam Kerebi, really this brisa is able to follow Rebbe, and the Shechita is what is Mekadesh, the loaves, and so then again we still have this problem. How do you redeem the other two loaves if you don't know which ones have the Kedushas Haguf? And the way that we solve that problem is as follows. Uparak lehu Gavoy, he does redeem them inside of the Azara. V'chulin memela kahav, it's not a problem of chulin inside the Azara, because that chulin essentially, it happens automatically. Rashi explains, memela havin, it happens automatically. The tocha azara, hey nasin chulin, it's within the azara that they become chulin. V'hulo hechnisan, it's not that he brought chulin in, mishanasu chulin, he didn't bring it in from the time that it became chulin, and therefore this issue of chulin ba'azara is not actually a problem. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Ravina le Ravashi, Ravina said to Ravashi, V'atanya, but didn't we learn in a brisa the exact opposite? It says in a brisa, Keshu Podan, that when he redeems these two other loaves, Ein Podan elabachutz, he actually redeems them only outside of the Azara. And so therefore that's exactly the opposite of what Rav Chisda is suggesting within Rebbe. Rav Chisda is suggesting within Rebbe that he redeems it inside the Azara, and it's not a problem of Chulin ba'Azara, because Chulin memelo kahavyan. And the Gemara answers to that, Havadai, this brisa, which says that they're redeemed outside of the Azara, that brisa certainly is Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon. It certainly does follow Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon that there is no Kedushas Haguf yet whatsoever, and that's why it's able to be redeemed outside the Azara. Di'i Rebbe, because if you're going to say that this brisa follows Rebbe, that would make no sense. If saluluhu b'yotze, now you really do have a problem of disqualification of Yotze. Taking the bread outside of the Azara when it has Kedushas Haguf is going to be a problem of Yotze, and so therefore this particular brisa, which says Kishu Podan and Podan elabachutz, it certainly follows Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon. And Rashi explains, V'atanya, didn't we learn in another brisa, Ein Podan elabachutz, that the loaves are redeemed outside of the Azara? And the reason for that is Mishum Chulin la'Azara, because of the issue of Chulin la'Azara, Chulin in the Azara, and so therefore they're redeemed outside of the Azara. And Rashi continues, Havadai, this brisa certainly, the Katani Podan bachutz, which says that they're redeemed outside of the Azara, the lo Rebbe, it is certainly not like Rebbe, because again, according to Rebbe, this would be a problem of Yotze, since there is a Kedushas Haguf. According to Rebbe, you have the problem of Yotze, of leaving the Azara. And Rashi continues, Va'osa takanazu, now this solution of Podan bachutz, of redeeming them outside, again, according to Rebbe Elazar Rebbe Shimon, that will be done Kodem Zrika, that's done before the throwing of the blood. And Rashi notes, Moshech Ezer Shtayim Sheyirtz, and then he draws in any two of the loaves which he wants. He designates two of the loaves. Again, those two loaves are going to be accompanying the two kavasim, and then two of them are redeemed outside. And Rashi continues and notes, V'hu adin. Now, likewise, the havimotzi lemifrach bereisha, they could have asked in the beginning that this brisa can't be Rebbe, a different question. They could have asked the Rebbe if this brisa was Rebbe. So arbasan boila nufe bahadayu. Actually, all 4 loaves would need to be waved together with the kvasim, because the halo yada, because we don't know, he doesn't know mihein de kedushos, which ones are the holy ones. Umiu dalima mine actually, but nevertheless, the Gemara asked the stronger question, adafke mitayim, until they said again that this brisa cannot be Rebbe. And the Gemara continues, Amarle Ravacha Brei de Rav Ravashi, Ravacha the son of Rava said to Ravashi, Lema Tavet Yufta de Rabbi Yochanan, let us say that the brisa above is a refutation of Rabbi Yochanan. Again, the brisa above said that the Shnei Kavasim, the 2 sheep, they were slaughtered over 4 loaves, and so then ultimately only 2 of the loaves will have the Kedusha, and then the other 2 are redeemed. And Rabbi Yochanan says as follows, Mehad de Itmar, from the following stated Machlokas Amoraim, involving Rabbi Yochanan, involving Karban Toda, a very similar case. Toda Shashachta al Shmonim Chalos. Let's say you have a Karban Toda, and it's slaughtered over 80 loaves. It's really supposed to be 40 loaves. So what happens in such a situation? Chizkiya Amar Kitshu Arboy Mitoch Shmonim. Chizkiya says 40 of the 80 are going to be sanctified. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says Lo Kitshu Arboy Mitoch Shmonim. 40 of the 80 are not sanctified. And the simple understanding of Rabbi Yochanan is Lo Kitshu Arboy Mitoch Shmonim means that none of them are sanctified, none of them have that Kedusha. And again, certainly in the brisa above, 2 of the 4 loaves certainly do have that Kedusha, and that's why this is a refutation, the brisa is a refutation of Rabbi Yochanan. But the Gemara continues and answers, V'lav mi itmar Allah, but wasn't it stated with regards to this machlokas amoraim between Chizkiya and Rabbi Yochanan? Amar Rabbi Zera, that Rabbi Zera says, Hakol modim, everybody agrees. Rabbi Yochanan and Chizkiya both agree. Heicha do Amar, where he actually says, Liktashu arboim mitoch shmonim, that 40 of the 80 should have that Kedusha, the Kitsha, so then in that case, the 40 would have that Kedusha. And so therefore, Hachanami, here also we can answer that exact answer. Diamar Liktashu tarti mitoch arba. Rabbi Yochanan will simply say, the brisa, which is understood to be saying that 2 of the 4 loaves do have that Kedusha, that's when the person stated, Liktashu tarti mitoch arba, that 2 out of the 4 should be sanctified, and in that situation, even Rabbi Yochanan would agree. And the Gemara continues, Tani Rav Chanina Tirasa Kamid Rav Yochanan, Rav Chanina Tirasa, Rav Chanina from Tiras, he taught the following brisa in front of Rav Yochanan, Shachar arba kvasim al beis chalos, if he slaughtered 4 kvasim, 4 sheep, over beis chalos, over 2 chalos, this is essentially the reverse of the earlier case. Now it's too many kvasim, it's supposed to be 2 kvasim, and instead it's 4. So the brisa says, Moshech shnayim mehen, he draws 2 of them, 2 of the kvasim, v'zorek daman shelo lishman, and then he throws their blood, not for their sake. Rashi will explain, Shemi'ata Omer Kach, because if you don't say that, if you don't do it in this fashion, Hifsadato Esachronim, then the later ones, meaning the later Kvasim, are going to be lost. And Rashi explains, Turasa or Tirasa, Shemakom, again that's the name of a place, Dalit Kvasim, the 4 sheep, Ve'ein Hadin El Shnayim, again the halach is really just 2 sheep, not 4. She'imi'ata Omer Kain, if you don't do it in this order, where you do those first 2 Kvasim, Shalol Lishma, Lizrok, as Shalol Lishma Tchila, to throw the bloods of the Shalol Lishma first, Ela es lishmot chila. Let's say the first 2 kvasim, you throw that blood lishmon for the sake of the 2 kvasim of Shavuos. If you're going to do that, then if sa'adato es achronim, then you're actually going to lose the later ones. Kidamar le'el, this is like we said earlier, ein loch davar shenira lishmon. You'll never have a situation where something is fit to be done lishmon for its sake, v'nidcha mi lishmon, and then it's pushed off from being done lishmon. Kagon hani, for example, this case exactly. Demisha nizrak rishonim lishmon. If he's going to take the first 2 sheep and do that and throw the blood lishman, and now they're going to be fit for the kavasim of Shavuos, so now sulo chazu hanach lishman, so then the last 2 sheep are not going to be fit lishman. They were originally able to be done lishman, and now they're no longer. V'kevan dinidcha mi lishman, once they're pushed off from lishman, ein kasher and shalo lishman, they're not going to be kasher shalo lishman, kishar kol azvachim, like other karbanos, and that's why you have to do the low lishman first, and then lishman. That's Rashi's first understanding of the brisa. Rashi continues with another understanding, lishnachrin, another understanding, Shemi'ata Omer Kain, if you don't do Shalo Lishman, Ela Arbasan Lishman, let's say you try to do all 4 Lishman, that's what the brisa means, if Sa'adatu Asan is Rakim Ba'achrona, then the ones that you throw the blood last are going to be lost, the Holo Tzrichi, because those are not necessary, Upsulan, and they will be disqualified. And in any case, according to either explanation of Rashi, the advice of the Bryce over here is to do 2 of the kavasim, 2 of the sheep, shelo lishman, not for their sake. And so Amar lo Rabbi Yochanan, so now Rabbi Yochanan responds to Rabbi Chanina Tirasa, v'chi omer lo la'adam amod v'chata b'shvil shetizke. Do we tell a person to go and sin, like in this case you're gonna bring 2 of the kavasim shelo lishman in order that you'll be able to merit down the line? Is that really true? V'hatanan, but didn't we learn in a Mishnah, this is a Mishnah in Zvachim, a vare chatas shenesarvu be'vare ola, let's say the limbs of a carbon chatas which are supposed to be eaten, they get mixed up with the limbs of a carbon ola which are supposed to be burned on the Mizbeach. So what do we do in this situation? So we have a machlokas tanoim. Rabbi Eliezer says, yitnu lamala, everything should be placed above, on top of the Mizbeach, burned on the Mizbeach. V'roa anias besar chatas lamala, and we view the meat of the chatas that's being placed above on the Mizbeach, ki'ilu hi eitzim, as if it's wood that is burning the Eivari Ola, and that's why we're able to burn these Eivari Chatos. That's the solution of Rabbi Eliezer. Now the Chachamim say, to Uvar Tzurasan, your to Uvar Tzurasan means, again, you leave it overnight, you let it decay, so to speak, so now it's disqualified. It's disqualified through Lina, again, being left overnight. V'yatzu lebeis hasreifa, and then everything will go to the beis hasreifa to be burned. And so Rabbi Yochanan continues and says, Amai, now why should this be the solution to Uvar Tzurasan, to let it be disqualified through Lina and then go lebeis hasreifa? If it's true that amod v'chata b'shvil shetizke is possible, we should do that over here. Lema amod v'chata b'shvil shetizke, we should say he should get up and sin in order to merit down the line, and so therefore it should be no problem to burn the Eivarei Chatos on the top of the Mizbeach in order to be burning the Eivarei Ola, which is what's supposed to be done. And the Gemara continues and responds, amod v'chata b'chatos b'shvil shetizke b'chatos amrinon. Go ahead and sin with regards to a carbon chatos in order to benefit with regards to that same carbon chatos, that we would say. But in the case of the Mishnah in Zvachim, it's different. Amod v'chata b'chatos, get up and sin by a chatos b'shvil shetizke ba'ola, in order to benefit by the ola, lo amrinon, that we are not going to say. But the Gemara continues with v'chada milsa miyamar, but let's say it's all the same item. Do we really say amod v'chata? V'atanya, but we learned in a brayse as follows. Kivsei atzeres, with regards to the sheep of atzeres, sheshachtan shelo lishman, let's say they're slaughtered not for their sake, o sheshachtan bein lifnei zmanon, bein la'achar zmanon, or let's say they're slaughtered before the proper time or after the proper time. In such a situation, hadam yizarik, the blood is thrown, v'habasar yeyachel, and the meat is eaten. V'yim hoisa Shabbos, now if it's Shabbos, so then lo yizrok, then the blood should not be thrown. V'im zark, but if he does throw the blood, hortza, it is accepted, lahakter emurin lo erev, in order to burn the emurin, to burn the sacrificial portions in the evening. And so again, here we're talking all about kivsei atzeres. And so v'yamai, now why is it that he shouldn't throw the blood in the first place? If when throwing the blood it is accepted, so we should say, lema, we should say, amod chata, get up and sin, b'shvil shetizke, in order that you should merit, and so therefore the blood should be thrown, so that after Shabbos there'll be this benefit. And the Gemara says to that, amod chata b'Shabbos kedei shetizke b'Shabbos amrinon, get up and sin on Shabbos in order to benefit on Shabbos itself, that we would say. But amod chata b'Shabbos, but get up and sin on Shabbos kedei shetizke b'chol, in order that you'll benefit after Shabbos, like in this case, that lo amrinon, that we would not say. But the Gemara still continues and asks, so v'tarti mili lo amar, but in 2 different matters we wouldn't say amod chata. In other words, where we're talking about a situation like this, let's say from Shabbos to Motzei Shabbos, v'hatnan, but we learned in a Mishnah, and this is a Mishnah in Trumos, chavis shel truma, if you have a barrel of truma, shenishbra begas ve'elyona, and it breaks begas ve'elyona, that's in the upper part of the wine press, which flows down to the lower part of the wine press, uv'tachtona chulin tamei, now in the lower part of the wine press there's chulin, there's wine that's chulin, that is tamei, and so the problem over here is, if this truma flows down, it's going to become tamei. That's a problem of making truma tamei. So in this case, Moder Rabbi Eliezer of Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, they admit, Shem yochol lahatzal mimenu revius betaro, let's say he's able to save from this wine a revius of wine in purity, meaning he has a pure vessel to capture the wine, so yatzil, then he should save it, he should do so. V'im lav, but if not, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, and Rashi explains, amod chata v'shelo l'shman choteu, again, doing it shelo l'shman, not for their sake, is a sin. Diasar l'shanos bezvachim, it's really forbidden to deviate with regards to zvachim. But b'shvil shetizka, but it's in order to benefit, meaning lechol es hashnayim, to be able to eat the other 2. Eivari chatos, the limbs of a chatos, hanecholim la kohanim, again, those are eaten by kohanim. This is the Mishnah in zvachim. Shenisarvu beivari ola, they get mixed up with the limbs of an ola. Ha'olam la mizbeach, that's supposed to go up and burn on the mizbeach. Yinosnu lamala kulam al hamarach, bracha. They all should be put on the fire on the Mizbeach. Why Yatsu Leveis HaSreifa? Now, why should it be according to the Chachamim that they all are left to be disqualified and burned? Lema Amod Chata, let us say that he should get up and sin. V'helo leMizbeach Chatos she'einu ru'ulo, bring the Chatos up to the Mizbeach even though it's not fit. B'shvil shetizke shelo lahafsid ola, in order to benefit in the sense of not losing out on burning the ola. Chata b'chatos lizkos b'chatos, so then the Gemara said to sin with a Chatos, to merit by a Chatos, Kagon la'el, like the earlier case of the Bikvasim by the sheep of Shavuos. Shechote bi'atzmo v'zocha bi'atzmo amar. There, again, the sin is with those animals themselves, to benefit with those animals, those karbonos themselves. And then the Gemara brought a brisa by the Kifsei Atzeres, lifnei zmanon, let's say it was done before the proper time, meaning kodem Atzeres, before Shavuos, meaning they were slaughtered before Shavuos, or la'achar zmanon, or after their time, la'achar Atzeres, after Shavuos. So in such a situation, hadam yizarek shelo lishmon. The brisa means to say that the blood should be thrown shelo lishmon, not for their sake, not for the sake of this particular carbon. V'yem hoisa Shabbos. Now, if it was Shabbos, Rashi explains that shelo lishmon kai. Here we're going specifically on the case where the shechita was done shelo lishmon. The Atzeres v'Shabbos, and it's not only is it Shavuos, it's also Shabbos. So then lo yizrok, then he shouldn't throw the blood. Dekevan de'idchi mi carbon sibor, because now since it's no longer the carbon sibor of Shavuos, because it was slaughtered shelo lishmon, sulo dachi Shabbos. The point over here is that the avoda no longer is docha Shabbos, it no longer pushes off the Shabbos. V'im zara kwarza, but if he did throw the blood, it's accepted. Al manas lahakter emor l'erev, and he's able to burn the sacrificial portions in the evening. Aval hayom lo yaktirin, but he shouldn't burn the portions today. That he shouldn't do on Shabbos. But again, lema amod v'chata, we should say he should sin yizrok b'Shabbos lechatchila. Let him throw the blood on Shabbos lechatchila. B'shvil shetizke lahakter emor l'erev, in order to benefit that he can burn the sacrificial portions in the evening. V'tochal basar, and eat the meat. V'amai omar lo yizrok. Why does it say he shouldn't throw the blood? V'nifsal hadam b'shkias hachama. Then the blood is going to be disqualified by sunset. And the Gemara answered to that, Amod chata b'Shabbos, b'shvil shetizke b'Shabbos amrinon. Go and sin on Shabbos to benefit on Shabbos, we would say. Kagon kvasim dezoche behen bo bayom. For example, again, by the sheep in our case, talking about the sheep of Atzeres, where he's going to be zoche in those on the very same day. But then the Gemara said, is that really true? But chavis shel truma shenishbra v'gasu el yona. We have a mission in Trumos by a barrel of truma that again it breaks in the upper part of the wine press. And Rashi continues, Vatachtona Tameya, and the lower part of the wine press is Tameh, Sheyesh Sham Chulin Tameya, and that there is Chulin over there that is Tameh. So Moder Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, again, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua admit that if he's able to save a Revius Betara, he should do that. Meaning, Afagav Dechayish Rabbi Yoshua Lakamon, even though Rabbi Yoshua is concerned later on Amud Beis, Behefsid Chulin, that the Chulin is going to be lost. In general, he's usually concerned about that. Modehu, but he admits, Shem Yochol Lachzor Achar Klitar, if he's able to find a vessel that is pure, lekabelbo afilu revius, that's able to receive even a revius of the wine that's truma, yatzel, then he should do so, he should save it. V'afal pi, and even though shebein kach uvein kach tipol hatruma l'soch hachulin, while he's trying to find that vessel, other truma is going to fall into the chulin. V'yelech hakol le'ibad, and now everything is going to be lost. Lefisha truma tameya ein latakana, because once the truma becomes tamei, there is no solution. Again, nevertheless, he should save that revius betara, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Memches Amid Beis.